books. What are you actively reading right now?
So Leadership Gold, Tribe of Mentors, and then Man's Search for Meaning. Those have been the 3 I've dug into in the last 2 weeks.
What can you tell us from what you've learned so far?
So I think the Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl was about a man basically in captivity, and his mindset of staying alive when, you know, they didn't know the next day if the Nazis were going to come in and just kill everybody, or, you know, what was going on. Him and his wife got separated. He didn't know if his wife was dead, you know, so he's kind of like talking himself through staying alive, you know, having a reason to live and having a reason to stay alive, and tapping into his spirit and saying that he didn't know if his wife was alive or dead. And I think he came to find out that at the time his wife was dead, and but him finding a place in his spirit that he felt like she was right there with him, that he would tap into his spirit and felt like he could connect right with his wife. And so he started to just, the thing, and I'm not all the way through this, but the thing I'm getting out of this is just perspective, man. Like, when people think they had a bad day, like, I can't even picture being in a concentration camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, he talked about being stuffed in a truck, you know, of like 30 men in the trunk. You know what I mean? Like, all in a bus. Like, you can't even like worms on top of each other. You know what I mean? Like, not even human beings. I'm claustrophobic, you know, so I'm thinking, like, I'm reading the thing. I'm like, I'm shortness of breath. You know, I'm like, man, I'm just reading it. So I can't even imagine being in person going through these things. So sometimes we think that, you know, because something's going on in our life is so bad, this is so bad, my life is so horrible. But imagine if Trent, you had to be in a concentration camp. Is it that bad, really, what you going through, bro? Right. Or would it be worse to be in a concentration camp? Right. You know what I'm saying? Where you don't know who's alive, who's dead. You know, you can't shower, you can't eat the right foods. You don't know if they're gonna kill you the next day. Yep. You know what I mean? And you're crawling on top of each other and stuff. So a lot of it is just perspective. Yeah. Tribe of Mentors. That book, I'm just pulling people's habits. You know, it's like interviewing a lot of successful people and getting their answers on different questions. But one of the things I'm saying a lot is just their people's habits and routines in their life, in theirs, is standing out to me. Just the discipline that a lot of the greats have with their daily habits and in their daily routines. And then leadership, you know, Leadership Gold. You know, I think just going back to starting with people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. But then, you know, he goes on. One of the things that's stuck out of so much in the book is, you know, he talked about when he first started out in ministry and then in leadership. You know, he had to make a move and a transition, and one of his key people was supposed to make the move with him. And last second, you know, I think it was a lady, said, you know, me and my husband actually decided we can't make the move. We're not going to make the move. And he said, I was just so distraught. And that's one of his lessons there, was everybody that starts the journey with you won't finish the journey with you. Some will, but not everybody. And coming to that reality in life, that everybody that starts the journey with you won't always end the journey with you, is a hard concept for people to grasp. In that I've had to go through, and people building a business and building in our business and outside of our business have had to go through, because, you know, on one end you get so attached to people, and you have to care so much about people to really get to where you need to be and want to be, and to be successful. I think it starts with, do you truly care about people? But then not going overboard with that care to where you understand that care doesn't mean that everybo's gonna retire with you, right, or you're gonna be distraught all the time. Yeah. And so hearing it from John Maxwell himself and putting in context of ministry and just speaking and leadership, that it's not just my business or business. It's ministry too. It's just that chapter on that journey was that, you know, the chapter was that everybody that starts the journey won't finish the journey, you know, with you. And that's one of the ones that just popped into my head right now about leadership goals.
How do you flip the negativity into fuel? You know, like how do you use, you know, when people, you know, taking shots and like stuff like that? I mean, how do you turn that around and just like use it as just like a golden star, like a key to open up, just keep opening up doors?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Man, that's a great question. If I could have done it at your age, I probably would be a lot better off. I would have had a lot less stress. But the first thing is, I've learned to use your strengths. Your biggest strength could be your biggest weakness, but if you learn how to use it for good, then you could, because you're always going to be you at the end of the day. You could grow as a person, but the root of who you are is very difficult to change. You change and evolve always, you have to, but the root of who you are is usually going to stay intact. And so what I've learned to do is learn how to digest negativity and hate and process it as anger, as it already comes out to me angry. Is would have always been my first response, but then I use that anger as like gasoline, and so that'll be my reason why I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna have my best week at the gym ever because I'm angry because of this. I'm gonna be better boxing this week and jiu-jitsu this week because I'm angry from what happened last week. I'm gonna be better in business planning. I'm gonna be more intense with my planning. I'm gonna be more passionate when I speak. I'm gonna go harder at everything I do because I'm angry. And that's the only thing I know to do with that, is turn that negative energy into positive energy. You know, it's almost like a slingshot. You pull it back and it's used for like tension and negativity, but if you let it, it just rips things forward. And so I've learned how to digest that. And it's not to be tough. It's like, if really people ever wanted me to just not do well, you got to learn your opponent. You know, it's like some people, you talk shit to them and they do worse. And then other people, they use it as bulletin board material and they do better. I've always digested that stuff and done better. So those that don't want me to do well, you know, better off just kind of letting things go. Because the more I get bulletin, I turn that into like, I put it up on the wall for myself and drive myself with it. But the other thing is trending. I'm still working on this. Let's say if it's a football field of 100 yards, I think I'm in the red zone. I've driven it 80 yards down the field, and it's humility. It's being humble enough and at peace enough with yourself to just understand that it's not even really you the hate is dictated towards. It's either someone negative that they are pushing their hate on you, or something's really going on with them. And so I feel bad for that person, and I try to stay humble and don't let my ego get in the way, and the competitive spirit about me get in the way, and I'm still working on that stuff. I just give it to God a lot. You know, I give those things to the Lord, and try not to let that brew and stir and cause negativity in me. But I've learned to try not to take it personal, because it's usually a problem with the other person or their perspective, and they just don't know any better. Just look at them from a perspective of, they just don't know any better. So I'm not like mad at them. That's their perspective. You know what I mean? Whether it was people in my family telling me that, you know, I shouldn't do this business, or I'm working too hard. It's like, those people have good intentions for me. They love me. They care about me. It's not like they're hating on me. It's just from their perspective, that's the way they see things, and they're trying to do what's best for me from their perspective, but they've never been to where I'm trying to go. You know what I mean? And so I don't take it out on that person. You know what I mean? And so that's the way I've digested you know, the negativity is just using it as fuel, not taking it personal, and giving it to God. You know what I mean? And then mentors. You know, I bring this stuff up to, like you're doing now. You know, I've always brought this to my mentors, and I've learned how to think. You know, I never knew how to digest this stuff. And through books that I'm reading and through mentors I've been exposed to, they've helped me on how to think on this topic, because anybody that's great is gonna get hate. You know, I told my mom, you know, the other day, she said, you know, I think one day you could be the president of the United States. You know, and I remember, you know, I was in, you know, had an issue a couple years ago where somebody was hating on me, and I was like praying, like, I hope my mother don't kill him. Like, real talk, like, please don't let her blow his brains out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna need my kid's grandmother in their life. Like, that's how down my mother is. And you know, she's telling me, I think you could be the president of the United States one day, and I'm telling her, hey, Ma, like, remember the one time, okay? If I'm the president of the United States, half the country's gonna hate me either way. Either the Republicans are gonna hate me or the Democrats are gonna hate me. You know, there's gonna be some news channel that's like, people are always throwing shots at the president. And so if you wanna play big, understand that people are gonna be at your throat. You know, if you wanna coach big time football, if you're the Steelers coach, people are at the Steelers coach all day right now. These cats are in the playoffs. He won a Super Bowl before. They're winning, you know what I mean? But it don't matter, doesn't matter. If you at the top, it's only a matter of time before you're gonna get knocked. Whether you're the head coach of the Steelers, the head coach of the Patriots, they're knocking Bill Belichick, whether you're in the White House or you're P. Diddy, it don't matter. If you wanna be great, it comes with hate, and you have to learn how to let that stuff rub off your shoulders and not take it personally. You know what I mean? Because you can't just go out killing everybody. You know, my first instinct was like, all right, we're beefing. You know, it's like, no, we ain't beefing. You know, I grew up like, all right, you want to attack me, I'm coming to, like, it's on when I see you. Now, it's like, I've had to accept that we're going to another level, and like, we're just gonna elevate up to the sky and leave those people down here. Because most of the people that elevate up here don't hate like this. You know what I'm saying? In my experience. You know what I mean? Because you can't really stay up here with all that negative energy. And so I've just learned that in the process.
Just the last thing I would want to ask you is, would you regret any, I guess it's a two-part question. Over the times you've succeeded and the times you've failed, you know, what's your fail to success ratio? And over the biggest failures that you've ever had in your life, do you ever regret or want to take anything back? Like, and ever feel like that you ever felt like at a time in your life where you were just, holy shit, I just can't catch a break, and like I'm just like, I'm just not gonna be able to pull this off. Like I just cannot complete my mission or my project, like the project you're working on. Do you ever like feel or anything like that?
Yeah. So first is you know, the major mistakes I could think of, you know, I make mistakes all the time, we're human, but like the major ones, I made a couple bad investments. You know, it's like I got talked into, you know, I'm gonna put a couple $100,000 over here, you know, and then 10 years, you know, 5 years later, you're gonna have $30 million, you know, and what I've learned is, while those things do happen once in a while, it's the minority and not the majority. And so I learned some great lessons from those things. And you know, people say, well, I wouldn't want to change anything. I would like the couple $100,000 back and let me try to do that over again. I would love to have another crack at that, but I'm okay with it. You know, I've done that a couple times, but I'll be able to help other people with it, and it never killed me. You know, thank God. It was like, you know, I was going to the casino and doing something that I can handle. But those are big lessons for me. I've learned to put my freaking money into what I know. Put my investments into what I know, and not be banking on, I'm gonna put 100,000 that this tree is gonna grow tall. Like, if I can't control that tree, but then what happens is people are gonna show you examples of, well, this person bet on that tree and they won $10 million, and you know, now they're living happily ever after. They got a nice tan and they're in Brazil. Well, they didn't show the other 90,000 people that lost their life savings and they're like sleeping at their aunt's house and like drinking beer with their dog. You know what I'm saying? They don't show those people. And so I've learned that like the best investment I can make is into myself and into my own business and banking on what I know. But have I ever felt like kind of just like in a rut? I'm never, you know what I mean? Like just something happens and another thing's gonna happen. Yeah, you know, I think this happens to me once a year. I get into a rut, you know what I mean, for a couple days, and I just mind, body, spirit my way out of it. You know, just with enough praying, with enough working out, with enough listening to audiobooks and YouTube clips of successful people, I realized that what I'm going through is part of the process, that it's not like I'm the only one that's ever went through stuff. Anybody that wants greatness is gonna have to go through, you know, stuff. And then one time in the business I'm currently in, I almost quit. And this is what I've taken from that lesson, that I almost quit, that God knows what that would have done in my life. Like, I'm not arrogant enough to say I would have been this good if I had chosen another route. I don't know, but I don't think so, because not all vehicles are created the same. You know, my friend Maurice was joking around about, you know, when he went to jail, he said the problem was I was trying to outrun the police and I was like in a Kia, you know what I mean, or something. He's like, I didn't think that one through, you know what I mean? So it's like, if he was in a Ferrari, it might have been a different outcome, who knows, you know what I mean? But not all vehicles, just because their cars are the same. And so I think that I lucked out in business. I found a vehicle that is faster than most cars out there, different than most cars out there, more lucrative than most cars out there. And I almost quit, I almost gave it up and went with something safer, and because it was hard mentally. And what I learned from that was going back to the fact that, did I see anybody else doing it? And did I see anybody else in a position that I would be happy if I had that position? The answer was yes, I'd be happy if I had the position I was thinking of. And then the second thing was, did I see other people doing it? And then when I did, I realized that if they could do it, I could do it too, if I wanted it bad enough. You know, so a friend of mine that was not born in this country, you know, Slav Bittman, I asked him, you know, how he made it. You know, how do you make it when people are born here and they'll come with a master's degree and they speak English and their whole family's here, but they can't make it? You come in and don't even really speak the language and you blow it up. How does that happen? He said, man, I heard a guy tell me one time, if you don't get what you want, either you didn't want it bad enough or you tried to negotiate on the price. And so I just have learned over the years that everything's going to come with a steep price if it's worth a lot. You know, if there's big value in it, it's going to be a big price. And if you want it bad enough, you'll get it if you're willing to pay that price. And so what I've learned from those moments and obstacles is that, you know, if you want it bad enough and you've decided that and you found somebody else that's done it, you can do it. We're only limited by our own mindset and our own expectations. Like Maurice was talking about, you know, Walt Disney, going to Orlando, going to Disney, and sitting there and thinking, man, if somebody thought this up, somebody dreamed this up, somebody believed that this stuff can happen. If somebody could think and accomplish that big, something as big as Disney World, you mean to tell me I can't run this business? You mean to tell me I can't make $1 million? You know what I mean? Like, if somebody else could do it, you could do it too.